Hey guys, it's MandaPanda. Welcome to the second Beauty and the Beast tutorial. We've made Belle and now it's time to make the Beast. For this custom, I am using this massive Rarity figurine. It is 9 inches tall. Compare that to the normal 3-inch ponies I usually use, and this is going to be a huge custom. I'm starting off by removing Rarity's head. This might be a little hard, so I'm just going to pull it really firmly to the side until I can get that head to pop out like that. And now I'm going to prep the head for customization. I'm going to start off by cutting off all of Rarity's hair. I'm going to use my really large scissors and cut off the bulk of her mane. Sorry, Rarity, but the Beast doesn't have a mane, so it has to go. Now I'm going to take my little teeny tiny scissors and cut the hair as close to the scalp as I possibly can. And for this particular custom, I am not going to go inside of the head and remove the roots and the glue. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and very carefully I'm going to kind of scrape off as much of the excess hair as I can to make it all level. And you can see I did a really good job of getting the majority of that hair out. Now I'm going to remove Rarity's horn with my X-Acto knife. So again, when you're using an X-Acto knife, you always want to be super careful because it is really easy to accidentally cut yourself. So I'm just going to cut that horn off. And I did get left with a huge hole in the middle of her head, but it's okay. We are going to cover that up in a minute. Now I'm taking some acetone and I'm wiping off all of her eyes. So the head is completely ready to be customized. Let's get started. To make the Beast, I'm going to be using a lot of Sugru, which I've used in tons of videos before. It is air dry rubber. I prefer it over air dry clay because it does not shrink, and I can cut it once it's dry, and once air dry clay has dried, it is really hard and there's no way to actually cut it anymore or shape it after it's dried out. So I'm taking a small bit and smoothing it over the big hole I got left when I removed Rarity's horn. And now I'm going to shape out some horns for the Beast. I have a long piece that I've rolled out in my palms, and I flattened the bottom section so I can easily adhere it to the back of the ear because that's kind of where the Beast's horns come out of. So I'm going to use my fingers and smooth the Sugru out, attaching it to the ear and to the back of the head, and once it dries it will be completely secured. So I have let this dry overnight. You can see it's nice and hard, but it's rubber, so I can still go in and cut it. Now, the horns that I made are a little too thick, I think, for the Beasts. So I'm just going in with my X-Acto knife and I'm going to shave off a bunch of that Sugru until I get a thinner horn. Now I'm switching over to acrylic paint. This is milk chocolate. I'll put all the names down in the description box below. And I'm painting just the face and ears of the Beast, and I'm covering it with 3 layers of acrylic paint. Now I'm taking a really dark brown and I'm painting the back of the horns, and then I'm taking a brown that's a couple of shades darker than the face, and I'm painting the front of the horn. Now I'm using a reddish brown color to draw out the Beast's eye sockets and some of that fur that he kind of has coming down his eyes and into his cheeks. Now I have some white Sugru that I'm going to be placing right at the top of the red eye area, and this is going to be the Beast's thick bushy eyebrows. So I have a really nice shape to those eyebrows. Now I'm going to take this little tool from my clay set and I'm going to scratch out a bunch of little tiny lines to give it the appearance and texture of eyebrows. And those eyebrows look really good. They're level and they're about the same size and shape. I'm going to let the sugru dry before I paint it, and I'm gonna start working on the eyes while the sugru sets. So I'm starting off with some white acrylic paint and drawing out the shape of the beast's eyes. And now I'm switching over to blue, and I'm gonna give him some really pretty blue eyes there. Now some black for the center of his eye and one light reflection in the corner. The eyebrows have completely set, so I'm going to go in with a tan color and just paint them in. I'm going to use this same color to paint the inner portion of the beast's ears. And if you have a keen eye, you might have noticed that the shape of the beast's eyes has changed, and I did do that off camera because I was looking at his face and the eyes were a little too small, so I went ahead and made them bigger, and I think it looks better now. So I'm switching over to a dark brown, and I'm just going to paint the tip of the beast's nose and give him some little black nostrils. And that's the last step of the beast's actual face. I'm going to cover it with 2 layers of this varnish, and then I'm going to start working on the fur. Yes, this custom is going to get actual real fur all over the head, and I'm going to be using this fur from Doris called Designer Fur, and I'm going to be attaching it with some spray glue and some hot glue. I've sprayed the back of the head with that spray adhesive, and now I'm going to go in with a thick strip of fur. This is exactly the size and shape that it came right off the roll, and I'm gonna put my first piece straight down the middle and then trim it at the bottom, and then I'm just gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna lay a piece over each side of the ear and trim off the excess. I've taken these side pieces of fur and pulled them under the chin to completely cover the head in fur. Now I'm going to go up to the top and just cover his forehead. I'm putting down a strip of hot glue, and then I'm going to press in a piece of fur and then trim the front so that way it's like a little V shape coming right in between his eyes. And then I'm going to hot glue this piece down and secure it in place. And lastly, I'm going to get 2 thin pieces and connect the fur between the forehead and the ears. And I'm going to do this on both sides. And with this, the head is completely done. Let's get started on the beast's body. So here's Rarity's original body. I'm going to use some acetone, and I'm going to completely remove her cutie mark. And then I'm going to cut off the bulk of her tail. I'm going to push the rest of that tail through with my pliers, and then just kind of pop out that little nubbin that's left and toss it because I don't need it. First, I'm gonna give the beast his pants. They are a really dark shade of blue. I picked out this nail polish by OPI called Incognito in Sausalito. I thought it was the perfect shade. So I'm gonna paint the 2 back legs, and then I'm going to put the nail polish all the way up to the waist to create the general shape of some pants. And the first layer is going to go on a little bit light, but this second one will darken up. Now while that's drying, I'm going to paint in some yellow at the front of the chest for the beast's little vest. Now while the paint is still wet, I'm going to use a Q-tip and scrape away the paint to create a V shape in the front. Now I'm taking some thin strips of fur and I'm going to put it all the way around the bottom of the front legs to make it look like the beast's hands. Now I've taken some nail striping tape and mapped out the perfect area for the stripe on the beast's pants. I'm using some gold acrylic paint. I'm going to put 2 layers down to create that really pretty stripe, and while the paint is still wet, I'm going to pull up my nail striping tape and it should leave us with a nice crisp line. And if any paint went over the lines, you can just go in and clean it up, no big deal. Now it is time for the biggest part of the body, and that is the beast's jacket. I'm going to be using Sugru for the jacket itself. Now the blue Sugru to me is too bright, so I'm going to be mixing 2 blues and 1 white to make a perfect shade of blue for the beast's jacket. And I'm going to put it on in pieces because that's going to make it a lot easier. So if you put down a bunch of pieces, and then you can use your fingers, and the warmth from your fingers will just kind of combine all the pieces and it will look really seamless. So let's get all these pieces in and smooth them out with my fingers. While the Sugru is still wet, I'm going to cut out a V shape in the front for his collar. And then I'm going to put in the other arm because right now I only have one on. And you gotta do this all really quickly before the Sugru dries because you want it to look like one seamless piece. Now I'm going to trim the back of his jacket and then go in and put his tail coat. Now, I absolutely hate the fact that I have to do this, but I ran out of blue Sugru, so I'm switching to white. Now, this is going to create an extra step for me because now once all the Sugru has completely dried, I'm going to have to go in and paint all of the jacket with a blue acrylic paint, which I could have avoided if I would have bought enough blue. But just so you guys know, this is a total of 9 Sugru packets to make the jacket, so 6 blue and 3 white is what you would need, but I only had 4 blue, so I ended up with a lot more white than I wanted, but it's okay. Now I'm gonna go in and kind of straighten out his coat tail and make some sharp lines, and then I'm gonna cut the notches in the back of the tail using some small scissors. I'm gonna give the beast some cuffs to his jacket using some white Sugru, and this is perfect because it hides the area where the Sugru and the fur meet, so it looks a lot cleaner. Now that I have all the blue pieces down, I'm gonna go in with an acrylic paint. This is True Blue by Americana, and I'm gonna completely cover that jacket with 3 coats of paint. This is the most complicated custom pony that I've ever tried to create, like ever, but thankfully it's almost done. The acrylic paint has completely dried, and I'm gonna go in with some yellow Sugru and put down his collar. And then I'm going to trim away the excess and create a sharp V line at the front. And the blue Sugru is completely dried, so I'm not cutting it. I'm only cutting the yellow because it's still wet. I'm going to use a little bit of that yellow Sugru and give him 2 pockets on each side. Switching back to white Sugru, I'm going to give the beast his scarf and tie. So I'm taking a medium piece and I'm going to wrap it all the way around the neck and then trim off the excess so it looks like it meets perfectly with the collar. Now I'm going to take a scratching tool and I'm going to scratch out 3 lines on each side to kind of make it look like the scarf is like crumpled and it kind of has some texture to it. I'm going to go in with some black later and define those lines. So I'm taking a little oval shaped piece of Sugru now and I'm going to kind of press it into the back of the scarf like that and then pull it over the front to create his tie. I'm going to cut in some notches here at the front and pinch it together in the middle to create a really cool little ruffled effect. And then I'm going to give him his brooch and then tuck the tie in so it kind of looks like it's inside of the jacket. I'm going to let that dry, and while it's drying, I'm gonna do the last painting step for this pony, and that is outlining the coat with some gold paint. So I've put some black on my little crinkles there to really make them pop. I'm going to paint in his brooch with that same gold and then give him a little turquoise center. And that's the last step in this custom. I'm going to let all the paint dry and then give it 2 coats of this varnish. I'm going to let everything completely dry, completely set, and then I'm going to pop the head back into the body. Let's take a look at the completed custom. Here is the beast. Now this custom was so complicated, there were so many steps, but that fur just looks so awesome. I love the way that the beast came out. I wanted to make his eyes and his face look a little bit nicer opposed to really fierce, and he came out so awesome. I'm going to put him on display with my Belle Pony, and they're gonna look so cute together. Let me know what you think of this custom down in the comments below, and if you have a suggestion for my next video, I would love to hear it, so just let me know. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial and that it helps you make your own custom. Thank you so much for watching, little pandas. Until next time, bye! And if you haven't seen my custom Belle Pony tutorial, you should definitely go check it out. I'll link it down below. You can follow me online to get the latest news and updates, like my Facebook page, facebook.com/MandaPanda Toy Collector, or follow me on Instagram at MandaPanda Toy Collector. Want to mail me something? Guess what? You can. Mail it to MandaPanda P.O. Box 2855, Humble, Texas 77347.